Welcome to Things You Don't Know, the podcast that seeks to give you information about things that you may not have known about. Today, we're going to delve into the rather confusing history and information about the philosopher Diogenes. His history is so murky.
Yes, we can find 11 different results on 11 different sources about his life.
It's hard to say which of them are valid. How much of it was Diogenes, you know, unique character, his shock culture mentality, and how much of it was, something said by his enemies, both his political and philosophical enemies, because he was not a rather well-liked guy in his time.
About the only thing that anybody can agree on is that he was born in Sinope in 404 BC.
Well, the other thing that they can agree on is that his father had something to do with coins. They don't know exactly whether he was a banker or a minter or both, but he did something with the official coinage of Greece.
Absolutely. And it seems fairly clear that his father did something with either minting or producing the coin of the realm, so to speak.
He did something he shouldn't have because he ended up in prison for it.
Well, at the same time, Greek law at the time was not picky about punishing the family for the sins of the father. So, I mean, although Diogenes may have, these sources indicate that that may have been a thing, he may have done something, illegal with the coins. It's not necessarily true that he did, because Grecian law allowed the state to punish the survivors or basically whoever was available for the crimes of their elders.
That's very true.
Indeed, as a matter of fact, his father did get imprisoned and died in prison for this crime, and Diogenes escaped. Now, that much pretty much everyone agrees on. Diogenes purportedly agreed that he had adulterated the currency. Now, that's another screwed up thing. There are four different stories about, well, at least four, about Diogenes consulting the oracle at Delphi. One says that he went to the temple, and the oracle urged him to adulterate the political currency, so he decided to deface the state currency, indicating that he misunderstood the intent of the oracle's words, with the oracle meaning he should confront and change the political structure of the state, and he took it to mean the money.
Some have also said that he never saw the oracle and simply co-opted Socrates' injunctions about trying to change the state.
Well, another one is that he saw the oracle after he messed with the money, right? And then just sort of used what the oracle said to give it meaning and purpose beyond the fact that he messed with the money.
Sort of after the fact justification.
Exactly.
Another thing that was really screwy is maybe, as you said, Sean, he didn't actually see the oracle, but he adapted or co-opted Socrates' injunctions concerning the state. It's interesting and it's all confusing. But at any rate, we know Diogenes escaped. Then, okay, he was kidnapped by pirates.
Well, there's another story I heard about where he willingly sold himself into slavery to aid in his escape.
Good heavens, willingly.
Well, that was a common practice at the time. If you had outstanding debts or something like that, you could sell yourself into slavery to cover the debts and, work it off in time.
And that is probably the origin of that story where he said, well, sell me to this person because this guy is looking for a master, and my skill is leading men.
I know he became the tutor of the children of his owner and was well liked by them.
Yeah, the kids really liked him a lot, apparently.
Well, of course. I mean, he's an anarchistic madman for the most part. I mean, it's got to be an interesting character to hang out with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now we come to another interesting thing. All right, so if he is owned by somebody, there's this whole business, the philosopher that lived in a rain barrel, that whole bit in Athens. Okay, now if that's the case, when did that occur? Before he was enslaved? After he was enslaved? If it was after he was enslaved, that's not possible because he would have been living at his master's house.
Or in something his master owned. I mean, those there was a lot of leeway in that regard.
Okay. All right. So the other story about that is he wrote to a friend. This is one storyline. He writes to a friend when he has to leave Corinth. All right, because he was kicked out of Corinth for defacing the money.
The Sinope, right?
Well, no, he went.
No, it was Corinth.
Yeah, he goes from Sinope to Corinth. That much is fairly clear. But then he's kicked out for doing that, loses his home there, and writes to a friend in Athens. And says, the friend says, well, there's a place here you could rent. And he travels to Athens, and lo and behold, the place that he had thought he could rent was actually a whorehouse.
Well, the other thing to consider is that, prostitutes in ancient Greece were in many ways considered to be holy, in and of themselves, with various rites and various deities that they worshipped through their sex acts.
You're quite correct, Jonathan. There was a tradition in Greece of sacred sexuality and finding the will of the gods through some fun with one of those women.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, prostitutes were not necessarily the, ill-reputed streetwalkers of today's time.
Yeah. Oh, hey, folks, by the way, the rain barrel thing just reminded me of something. We did a podcast on Oscar the Grouch, who did live in a barrel. Of course, he was a puppet, and that's a fantasy, but he did. And you should check it out. Check out the podcast, okay?
He has conversations with a former first lady, a revered philosopher, and myself. I think you'll get a kick out of it, folks.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to sidetrack us too much. So it's not clear to me what happened, what the timeline is for his living in the rain barrel. Now, do we have any idea as to why he chose to live in a rain barrel?
Well, part of the Cynic philosophy is that you live according to nature, without excess baggage, and by promoting a lifestyle of asceticism.
Yeah, he even gave away the one possession that he had. This is a story, and I don't know the veracity of it, but he gave away his bowl when he saw a young boy drinking water out of his hands. He says, well, if he can do it without a bowl, I don't need one either. So give it away. Interesting. Possible. Who knows?
I was very surprised, if I may, at some of his deliberate desire to shock people. He would eat off the floor in public banquets, eat in the marketplace, which was the ultimate in incorrect behavior at that time.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, he did supposedly pleasure himself in the marketplace, and when he was asked why he was doing that, he said something about how nice it would be if it was as easy to settle a stomach by rubbing it.
Well, yes, he did that. He also defecated and urinated in public, according to legend. He did a lot of auteur things. Okay, so a lot of things we don't know, but we do know that he was frustrated with Socrates and Plato, and that he had some disagreements with them. And that's legendary, and some of that's probably true. Who knows, though? I kind of feel like Diogenes is somebody that I respect for his staying power in the sense that we still remember him, but not somebody that I would like to meet, not somebody that I admire much.
An interesting thing is because he's so famous, a lot of people believe that he was the founder of cynicism.
Oh, no, 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 no. Not even close.
That was the philosopher Zeno.
Correct. And an interesting thing, cynicism is related to what? Dog like.
Yes.
One of their core beliefs was acting in the natural order of things as they saw fit, like a dog.
I wonder if that has any impact on his famous legendary meeting with Alexander the Great. When they met and Alexander expressed his admiration and basically offered him anything you want, what can I do for you? And Diogenes said, get out of my son.
And Alexander the Great is said to have said, if he weren't Alexander the Great, he would want to be Diogenes. And Diogenes is reputed to have said, well, if I weren't Diogenes, I would want to be Diogenes.
I mean, there is something to be said for his philosophy in, living life in the way that is most natural and fit for yourself.
Okay. Now here we go. I think that the philosophy that he propounded was antithetic to nature. I think it was the reverse. Okay, he is said to have said, for example, that everyone should do what they want to do. There should be no marriage, there should be no family, and that if children were born from that, well, the group would raise them. Sounds pretty awful to me. Okay.
Well, one of the foundations of cynicism, like I said, is living your own truth. And for Diogenes, that may have been his truth. And there were other followers of cynicism that did not believe the same things, nor did they live like that.
Exactly. So why didn't he come up with that? Any ideas, guys?
Well, it could have been a reaction to the sense that he felt abandoned by the organized society, and almost petulant attitude. Well, you've all left me here at the absolute lowest level of things, so the heck with you, I'm going to do what I see fit. Or it could be the opposite, a determination to live by one's own standards and with no regard for the opinions of other people.
It could also have just been pure shock value, to be as outrageous as possible to garner the most, public appeal in a sense. I think a lot of times his thought was that, at least they're talking about me. They're not saying good things, but my name is in their mouth.
Sort of like the old advertising thing. Doesn't matter if they're saying something bad about you as long as they're saying something about you.
Very true. Even his death is a source of controversy. I've heard 4 different ways that he passed. One, that he got a severely infected dog bite. The second one said he ate bad octopus, which certainly does not keep him being with poor, because that was a luxury at that time that only the rich could have afforded. One said he held his breath and asphyxiated, almost like a child does when they're throwing a tantrum. And the final one says he just died of old age.
And almost all of them say that he died at the home of his former owner. He didn't own him at that time because he had already been freed. That's to debate too. But apparently this business about holding his breath, because I read the original account of that, and they said that they came into his room and saw him with his head covered. Okay, now the words that they used could mean that he put something over his head to asphyxiate himself. The thought is, well, how could they do that? What are they going to have? They didn't have plastic back then. But they did have water carrying flexible things that were coated with, different stuff, animal fats or whatever, to keep it relatively watertight. If he had put one of those around his head, over his head, he could have asphyxiated himself that way.
So he committed suicide, if that account is true.
Correct. And we will never know. We will never know. And that is that's a shame. But at any rate, he's an interesting person. And frankly, when we started down this path to do Diogenes, I was kind of excited about it. Because I knew something about him, et cetera, et cetera. As we got into it, I disliked the man more and more for some of his, things that he was doing and saying. I think there's a better way to get attention. And if you need attention that badly, there's something seriously wrong with you anyhow.
So he probably would have been on medications or in therapy today.
I doubt that he would have submitted himself to therapy because he was far too narcissistic. He believed that he knew everything. So, he would have probably not been very much different than, if he were living in modern times than he was then.
Well, he'd probably be in prison. I mean, most of the things he did would be patently illegal in today's world.
That's true. That is true. But nonetheless, it was interesting. And hopefully everyone has enjoyed a detour into Diogenes. Did want to let people know that we are embarking on a big expansion in what we're doing. We will soon have our website up along with blog posts, and that's kind of exciting. We also have a new email that's associated both with the website and the blogs, and that is active right now. It is called
New Things You Don't Know at gmail.com.
Okay, and that's all smushed together. It's not like new space thing space. It's new things you don't know at gmail.com. So you can be free to contact us, and we'll keep your messages private if you wish. You can also contact us by making a comment below this podcast. And once again, we encourage people to give us a like, make comments, and we're open to suggestions from you. And have a good day.
Well, hold on. We've got a lot of interesting stuff coming up. We're doing Black History Month, and we're going to focus on some really fantastic, if rather little known, inventors who happen to be black. That's going to be a fascinating journey to go on, and I hope you guys are going to come with us on it.
Indeed.
Hey, don't tell anyone, but I'm trying to get one of these people that's still living. I'm not going to tell you who because I haven't secured it yet. But if I get this guy to come on our podcast, you have to listen in. This guy is amazing. You'll be surprised that you didn't know him. His stuff he invented, you use every day, guaranteed. And you've probably never heard his name. So yes, John, you're exactly right. We got some exciting stuff coming in. It'll be a lot of fun.
A real giant in his field, folks.
I'm really looking forward to that. All righty. Anything else, guys?
Make sure you turn that reminder bell on so that you don't miss any of these exciting innovators. And, obviously like, comment, subscribe. And if you have any ideas for future podcasts, feel free to send us an email or drop a comment.